The grand arena of Veltherin had stood for 3,000 years, a monument to Celestian martial prowess and noble tradition. Its crystalline walls rose 50 meters high, refracting the twin suns into dancing rainbows across the sand-covered floor. Today, those walls contain the quarterly combat trials, a display where noble houses showcase their champions to prove their strength and secure political alliances. Princess Ariazen of House Solmara sat in the royal viewing box, her expression carefully neutral despite her boredom. Around her, nobles in flowing robes of silver and gold murmured behind jeweled fans, placing bets on their favored champions. Below, Celestian warriors, all standing over 2 meters tall with the characteristic luminescent skin and enhanced physiology of her species, prepared for combat. The House of Krelvos presents their champion, Darvox the Unbreakable. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. A massive warrior stepped forward, his bronze skin rippling with muscle enhanced by generations of selective breeding. The crowd roared approval. And challenging, representative from the Terran embassy, Cade Mercer. The crowd's roar transformed into confused murmuring, then derisive laughter. Ariazen leaned forward, her interest suddenly piqued. A human in the combat trials, that was unprecedented. Humans were barely tolerated at court, seen as useful for their diplomatic connections but physically inferior, intellectually limited, culturally primitive. Cade Mercer walked into the arena and the laughter intensified. He stood perhaps 1.85 meters, short by Celestian standards. His skin was dark brown, unmarked by the bioluminescence that Celestians considered a sign of nobility. His build was solid but unremarkable compared to the giants he'd face. He wore simple combat gear, practical, functional, utterly devoid of the ceremonial ornamentation that Celestian warriors favored. No flourishes, no dramatics, just a man walking calmly toward what everyone assumed would be his humiliation. "This is an insult," muttered Lord Kael'thar from the seat beside Ariazen. "The Terrans mock our traditions by sending this creature." "Perhaps they simply don't understand our customs," Ariazen replied diplomatically, though she privately agreed it seemed like a poor choice. "He'll be unconscious in 30 seconds, another noble laughed. "Darvox will break him like kindling." The match began. Darvox moved with the fluid grace of a trained warrior, circling his opponent with predatory confidence. Cade simply stood still, his dark eyes tracking every movement with unnerving focus. "Is he frozen with fear?" someone whispered. Darvox struck, a lightning-fast jab that had felled champions in previous trials. Cade moved, not with the flowing, dance-like movements of Celestian combat, but with brutal efficiency. He slipped the punch by a hair's breadth, stepped inside Darvox's guard, and drove his fist into the warrior's solar plexus. The impact sounded like a thunderclap. Darvox staggered, genuine shock crossing his features. No one his size should hit that hard. It wasn't possible. The crowd fell silent. Cade didn't press his advantage. He simply reset his stance, waiting. His expression remained calm, almost bored. Darvox roared, launching a combination of strikes that would have overwhelmed most opponents. Cade defended with minimal movement, small shifts, precise blocks, conserving energy while his opponent expended it freely. Then, in the gap between one of Darvox's overextended punches, Cade struck again. This time, his fist caught Darvox in the ribs. Ariazen heard the crack from 50 meters away. Darvox dropped to one knee, gasping. The arena remained utterly silent, shocked into stillness. "Yield," Cade said quietly, the first word he'd spoken since entering the arena. "Never!" Darvox surged upward, throwing all his remaining strength into a devastating overhead strike. Cade caught his wrist mid-swing. For a moment the two stood frozen, Darvox straining downward with all his considerable strength, Cade holding him motionless with apparent ease. Then Cade twisted, redirecting Darvox's momentum. The Celestian champion went airborne, flipping completely over before crashing onto the sand hard enough to raise a cloud of dust. He didn't get up. The arena exploded into chaos, shocked exclamations, outraged protests, a few scattered cheers from the lower seats where common folk sat. In the royal box, nobles stared in open-mouthed disbelief. "Impossible," Lord Kael'thar breathed. "He's human." "They're weak, fragile." "Apparently not," Ariazen said softly, unable to tear her eyes from the human standing calmly in the center of the arena while medics rushed to attend to Darvox. Over the next hour, Cade faced 3 more champions from various noble houses. Each time the pattern repeated. Celestian warriors with superior size, strength, and training fell before this unremarkable-looking human who fought with terrifying efficiency. No wasted movement, no flourishes. Just devastating, precise violence delivered with almost casual indifference. By the final match, the crowd had split. Half remained outraged at this affront to Celestian superiority. The other half watched with reluctant fascination, beginning to appreciate the brutal artistry of his combat style. Ariazen watched with something else entirely, a growing realization that everything she'd been taught about humans was fundamentally wrong. The final opponent was Lord Vex'irn himself, a decorated war hero who'd personally volunteered to put the human in his place. The match lasted 45 seconds. Vex'irn left the arena on a stretcher, his jaw broken and 3 ribs cracked. Cade walked out of the arena as calmly as he'd entered, barely winded, not even breathing hard. The Court of Radiant Stars convened in emergency session that evening. The grand chamber glittered with 1,000 lights reflecting off crystal surfaces, but the atmosphere was anything but bright. "This cannot stand." Lord Kael'thar stood, his voice ringing with outrage. "A human, a primitive outsider, has humiliated 4 of our finest warriors. This is an insult to every noble house, to our very way of life." "He fought within the rules," Ariazen said calmly from her position at the high table beside her father, King Solendar. "No one forced our champions to accept his challenges. The rules never anticipated a human participant," another noble protested. "The combat trials are meant for equals, for beings of comparable strength and skill, not for whatever that creature is." "That creature defeated 4 Celestian champions," Ariazen countered. "What does that make him if not our equal, our superior perhaps?" The chamber erupted in angry protests. King Solendar raised his hand for silence, his ancient face troubled. "Daughter, you cannot seriously suggest." "I suggest we acknowledge reality, father. The human displayed combat capabilities that exceeded our finest warriors. To deny this is to deny the evidence of our own eyes." "Then he must be using enhancement drugs, illegal modifications," Lord Kael'thar insisted. "He was examined before entering the arena as per protocol. No enhancements, no modifications." just natural human capability that we were apparently too arrogant to take seriously. Princess Ariazen, Lord Vexirn spoke from his seat, his jaw still bandaged. What exactly are you proposing? Ariazen stood, her silver robes flowing around her. I propose we stop pretending humans are inferior simply because they're different from us. I propose we acknowledge that Cade Mercer has earned respect through combat, the very method we Celestians claim to value above all others. And I propose we grant him full courtly privileges, including the right to speak before this assembly. The chamber exploded into chaos. Nobles shouted over each other, outraged and scandalized. The idea of a human, an outsider, a primitive, being given equal standing with Celestian nobility was unthinkable. This is madness, someone shouted. The princess has lost her senses. We cannot allow this precedent. Ariazen waited for the noise to subside, then spoke again, her voice cutting through the din. Then I challenge you. Any noble here who believes humans are inferior, who thinks Cade Mercer's victories were flukes or tricks, step forward. Face him in honorable combat. Prove your superiority. The chamber fell silent. Every noble who'd been shouting suddenly found the floor fascinating. No one, Ariazen pressed. Not one among you will defend Celestian honor against this primitive human. Lord Kael'thar shifted uncomfortably. The combat trials are concluded. To challenge outside the proper forum would be convenient, Ariazen finished. How convenient that our traditions suddenly matter when they protect you from facing the consequences of your prejudice. King Solendar studied his daughter with an expression that mixed pride and concern. You are determined in this? I am, father. I witnessed something today that cannot be unseen. That human fought with skill, discipline, and honor. He defeated our champions not through luck or trickery, but through superior technique and raw strength. To deny him respect is to admit we value our prejudices more than our own stated principles. And if the court refuses, Ariazen's eyes hardened, then I will invoke my right as crown princess to grant him sanctuary and status by royal decree. You can overrule me, father, but it will require a formal vote. Are you prepared to publicly reject your heir's judgment on a matter of honor? It was a calculated gamble. King Solendar valued tradition, but he also valued the appearance of family unity. A public dispute between king and crown princess would be politically damaging. The king was silent for a long moment, then sighed. Bring the human before us. Minutes later, Cade Mercer entered the court of radiant stars. He wore the same simple clothes from the arena, seemingly unbothered by the hundreds of hostile eyes fixed upon him. He bowed to the king, a brief, respectful gesture, but not the deep obeisance a Celestian subject would offer. Cade Mercer of Earth, King Solendar said, you have disrupted our traditions and defeated our champions. What say you in your defense? Cade's voice was calm, measured. Your Majesty, I meant no disrespect. I was invited to participate in the trials by Ambassador Chen, who believed it would foster understanding between our peoples. I fought honorably within your established rules and harmed no one beyond what was necessary to secure victory. You broke bones, injured warriors of noble houses. With respect, your Majesty, those warriors chose to fight. They could have yielded at any time. That they continued until forced to stop speaks to their courage, not my cruelty. Lord Kael'thar stood. You presume much, human. You stand in the presence of ancient nobility, yet show no proper deference. Cade turned to face him. I show the deference earned through action, not demanded through birthright. Your warriors fought bravely. I respect that. But I will not pretend to be less than I am simply to comfort your assumptions about my species. The audacity of it left several nobles speechless. Ariazen spoke into the silence. Father, I move that Cade Mercer be granted the rank of honorary blade, a warrior of recognized skill entitled to full courtly privileges and the right to speak before this assembly. Seconded, came an unexpected voice. Lord Vexirn stood, his bandaged jaw making the words difficult. He defeated me fairly. By our own traditions, that earns recognition. King Solandar looked around the chamber, reading the mood. Some nobles remained hostile, but others were nodding reluctantly. Vexirn's support had shifted the balance. Very well, the king said. By the power vested in this crown and in acknowledgement of skill demonstrated in honorable combat, I grant Cade Mercer of Earth the rank of honorary blade. Let it be recorded. The chamber erupted again, but this time the king's word was final. As the assembly dispersed, Ariazen approached Cade. You've made powerful enemies today. I've noticed, Cade replied dryly. Why did you really enter the trials? You must have known how you'd be received. Cade was quiet for a moment. Because everywhere I go in this palace, I see humans treated as lesser, dismissed, mocked. I thought maybe if I demonstrated that we're not as weak as you assume, it might change some minds. Did it work? You tell me, Princess. You're the one who forced the court to accept me. Ariazen smiled. I didn't force anything. I simply made them acknowledge what I witnessed. Your raw strength, yes, but also your discipline, honor, and dignity in the face of contempt. Those are qualities worth respecting, regardless of species. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You've been granted courtly status, which means you're now subject to all the political maneuvering, intrigue, and backstabbing that comes with it. Cade's expression remained neutral, but she caught a glint of amusement in his eyes. Princess, I just fought 4 of your best warriors in a single afternoon. I think I can handle some politics. Ariazen laughed, a genuine, surprised sound. I think you might be right. Welcome to court, honorary Blade Mercer. Try not to break too many more nobles. No promises, Cade replied. As she walked away, Ariazen reflected on the day's events. She'd witnessed the human's raw strength and forced the court to accept him, yes. But she suspected she'd also gained something else, an ally, a warrior of genuine merit, and perhaps, eventually, a friend. The court would adapt. They had no choice. Change, she thought, had arrived, and it fought with devastating efficiency.